It's 11:06 at WINZ. We're back for our fourth and final hour with you on a Thursday. Bill Calder will be here at midnight, and we'll be back with our mystery guest in a little bit. But right now it's time to get an update from a good friend of ours. Roger Connor is the Executive Director of FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform in Washington, D.C., and Roger and the folks at FAIR have been working diligently now for what seems a lifetime on this whole immigration mess. And Roger, where are we today?
Well, Neil, you've probably seen the wire stories in the last 6 or 8 hours. And I have to throw a question back at you as to whether anybody was actually flown back to Cuba today. The stories we were hearing on the radio about noon here in Washington, were that the Court of Appeals finally cleared the way for the first 23 Cuban criminals to be returned.
Right.
And did that actually happen, do you know?
As far as we know, that's what we've been reporting all day, and as far as I saw the story on the evening news before I came on, I thought that was the plane that I saw, unless it was fantasy. But as far as we know, yes.
Well, you know, it seems like a long time from the first television, from the first time that you and I were on the radio together, when we predicted to everybody that there was going to be trouble because of the fact that our immigration policy was being turned over to Fidel Castro.
Yeah. Roger, let me tell you, we've got a line that sounds like you're, calling from underneath a rock somewhere.
Right.
So let me do this. Let me put you on hold for a second, and Chris will call you back on another line.
Neil, just hang on. Let me go up to another phone in my house. The trouble may be the phone.
Okay.
Okay, so put me on hold.
Right.
And let me go up and pick up another phone.
Okay. Roger's on one of those cheap phones. Even at FAIR, they have cheap phones in their house. Come on, Roger, get serious. Anyway, we'll see if that's not the phone, then we'll call him back on another line, because that was almost unintelligible. Anyway, while we're waiting for Roger to dodge over to another telephone, let me remind you that DCA, South Florida's #1 builder, announces the opening of that great brand-new model center at Sunrise Lakes on University Drive, just south of Oakland Park Boulevard. And as far as retirement community value, this is it. Trust me when I tell you. Sunrise Lakes with a multi-million-dollar clubhouse. There's tennis and golf, top-name entertainers, a full-time social director, everything you could ask for. And now with a new model center, they're featuring 4 new elegant designer models. They're beautiful 1- and 2-bedroom condos. Each has either a golf course or water view, and they start, get this, from just the mid-30s. The best retirement value, as I said, anywhere in our neck of the woods. I'm going to be out there at Sunrise Lakes, Phase 4 Model and Sales Center at 2701 University Drive next Sunday. That's a week from this Sunday, March 3rd from noon to 2. And I'd like to meet a lot of you. I hope you'll come down and say hello. And obviously, while you're there, check out these great new models at Sunrise Lakes on University Drive, just south of Oakland Park Boulevard. For exact directions, call 742-3200. That's 742-3200. Right now, let me tell you about our good friends at TV Analyst in North Miami Beach, the dependable pros for all your TV and VCR repairs. Over 30 years of dependable experience in servicing and keeping customers satisfied all over the South Florida area. And let me remind you, and this is an exciting offer they're making, they've had a tremendous response. If you own a video recorder, any make, any model, whether it's Beta, VHS, whatever it is, and you have any kind of a repair problem right now while the special offer is on, the people at TV Analyst will repair it $99.95 complete. That includes parts, that includes labor, the whole schmear. And believe me when I tell you, VCR repairs usually cost a heck of a lot more than that. So if you've got a problem with your VCR, keep it in top working shape and call TV Analyst tomorrow. The number to call is 944-3973. 944-3973. And don't forget, for your TV repairs, if you mention Neil Rogers, they'll take $10 off their regular price, too. TV Analyst, they're at 265 Northeast 166th Street in North Miami Beach, right behind Coney Island. Their service hours Monday through Saturday from 9 to 5:30, and that number again, 944-3973. It's 11 after 11, and let's see if we've got Roger and his telephone hooked up again. Roger?
How's that?
That's a lot better.
Great.
You don't sound like you're in Alaska now.
Sorry about that.
More like Oregon, but a lot better.
Thank AT&T for this.
Okay, you were saying?
What I was saying was that, when we first started talking, we said that we could not allow Fidel Castro to decide America's immigration policy. And a lot of people said, that's alarmist rhetoric. Don't worry. Go back to talking about Hollywood actresses or something and ignore this.
Yep.
And you said, I won't ignore this. I think this is a serious problem. And of course, eventually, everybody else came around to realizing that the concerns you were raising on your radio show and that your listeners were raising were valid and true. And now, at long last, we have step one, 23 criminals being returned. I just talked to Richard Alvarez last week. Richard Alvarez is a Cuban American. He's a policeman. He lives in Pennsylvania. He, on a little Apple computer in his that he paid for with his own money, has kept track with police departments all across the United States of the criminals who came over in that flotilla. And it's his opinion that there are several tens of thousands who need to be returned before this return of the criminals is over.
Absolutely, and those of us who have a good memory and remember back to 1980 and 81 are positive that he's correct.
So that's step one. But of course, the bigger problem that we face is that Fidel Castro is not the only foreign dictator who is in control of, or partial control of, America's immigration policy. Someone once said that the Ayatollah Khomeini has more to do with America's immigration policy than an American citizen does, and they're not far off. There's a new development, two new developments here that I have to call to everybody's attention. The first is that there is a new Mexican connection. What I mean by that is, in the last 6 months, the Immigration Service has uncovered dozens of smuggling rings that are smuggling illegal aliens into the United States. And they're smuggling them across the Mexican border, but the people they're smuggling are not Mexicans. People from Bangladesh are paying $2,000 to $4,000 apiece to be smuggled across the Mexican border. People from the Philippines are being smuggled across the Mexican border. Believe it or not, Haitian illegal immigrants are being smuggled across the Mexican border at huge and exorbitant fees. The INS has captured a number of these people, but they say they just hit the tip of the iceberg. What's beginning to happen is that as the pressure for immigration builds around the world, people in countries around the world are making contact with smugglers in Mexico that are saying, the United States border is out of control. If you want to come to America, here's the way to do it. Ignore the legal route. Don't go to the State Department. Don't go through American law. Bypass American law. It's a new development. I think it's a serious one, and one that we've got to take very seriously. That's on the negative side. On the positive side, Senator Simpson, his staff has assured me personally that he will be introducing legislation in a short time. He's going to be holding hearings, but he is going to be introducing new comprehensive immigration legislation, Neil, that's actually going to be even stronger than the legislation that he introduced last year. He hasn't decided on the final form it's going to take, but what they've told us is, and he's said this publicly in Washington, so I'm not speaking out of school here, that he's going to introduce legislation, he's going to push it to be passed, and that if the leadership of the House of Representatives wants to block it, they're going to have to do so right out in front of God and everybody. So that's on the positive side. And I think that part of what has happened in Washington, Neil, is a result of the SOS campaign and all the people in South Florida who got involved at the end of last year and at the beginning of this year. Because you see, one of the things, the people in Florida, you concentrated on your Florida representatives and senators, and that's proper.
Yep.
And they talk to their friends. And Florida is considered a pivotal state by both the Democrats and the Republicans. Neither the Democrats nor the Republicans want to have angry Floridians banging on their door. And thus, both parties are now jockeying to see which can do a better job of trying to respond. So what you've convinced people of here in Washington, I think, is that the people in Florida, as well as across the country, are still watching, and they're still involved, and we just refuse to throw in the towel. We just refuse to give up our heritage our future for ourselves and our children, just because it's difficult.
Yeah.
Just because it's not easy to resolve this immigration problem. So that's on the positive side. Now, on the legislative front, I think Congress now has it's almost, you know, the old story about how to get the mule's attention, you had to take a 2x4 and hit him in the forehead?
Yeah.
Well, the SOS campaign was the political equivalent of a 2x4 across the head of the mule, and we got their attention. Now, on the front, as you know, we filed a lawsuit in January, late January, thanks in part to the support we received from people financially in South Florida to finance the lawsuit. It's only just begun, but we filed the lawsuit. The government has not yet responded to that case, but they must respond by sometime in March. They get 60 days from the date we filed it, so about March 25th.
Right.
That they must respond to the lawsuit. We do not yet know what it is that they're going to say. But frankly, I look at the law, and on the law, it's an open and shut case. And the last thing that's very interesting development, Neil, that's happened here in the country is a movement has arisen called the sanctuary movement. I don't know if it's gotten much publicity there in Florida. It's mostly in Texas and New Mexico and Arizona. It's a group of people who say that they believe that people coming from El Salvador should be allowed to immigrate freely to the United States. Now, the government doesn't agree with this, and thus they've decided to take the law into their own hands and bring people from El Salvador and Guatemala into the United States on their own. They
Right.
sort of made themselves into the government, if you will.
Right. There was a piece on the CBS Evening News about that tonight.
The interesting thing to me is the parallel. You see what I'm saying? In the instance of the Cuban flotilla, a group of people said, we don't care what the government's policy is. We have decided that these people from Cuba should be allowed to come to the United States, so we will take the law into our own hands and bring those people here.
Right.
If we decide that should be the law. And now a group is saying, well, if we don't agree with the government's policy on El Salvador and Guatemala, we will go and we will take the law into our own hands.
Yeah.
It's the same basic phenomenon, and it's got to be responded to in the same way, and that is that our freedom is based and predicated on a respect for law and a respect for order. And we have got to fight on every front when people say as citizens they're going to take the immigration law into their own hands, or that special treatment should be accorded to any group, whether it's El Salvadorans or Mexicans or Filipinos or Cubans.
I want to ask you about the Cuban Adjustment Act. The numbers that we're hearing, in fact, just today, one of the representatives from the INS said 30,000 a year is, generally speaking, the number we can expect now that the exchange process has begun in a very small way. We can expect 30,000 total number of immigrants per year over the next several years. Obviously, the key to a lot of this, in terms of the snowball effect and the things you and I have talked about in the past, is that Cuban Adjustment Act, and whether it's going to be invoked until the end of time, or whether we're going to finally get that message across to the government and say, hey, this is not good law, it's not valid for you to invoke it at this time, and it's got to be stopped.
Well, you see, the key is that Congress amended the Cuban Adjustment Act in 1977.
Right.
And said that if you take an extra Cuban this year, you got to take one fewer from some other country.
Right.
And those people have to qualify for visas just like anybody else. Now, that amendment was just as plain as the nose on your face. The committee report said that it's the intent of Congress that no one can be granted permanent residence under the Cuban Adjustment Act unless visas are available. For most of these individuals, visas are not available. It was a clear intent of Congress. If more Cubans are admitted, there got to be fewer people admitted from Mexico and the Philippines and Taiwan or some other country. Now, for the INS to come along and say, well, gee, we're just going to admit an extra 10,000 or 20,000 people a year because I don't know why, that's not the way our system of government works. The Congress makes the laws. The Immigration Service does not make the laws. And you know, that's really what this lawsuit is all about. If they want to change the law, let them go to Congress. Let them do it out in the open. Let them have everybody see what they're doing.
But are we
hold our representatives accountable if they do?
But Roger, are we going to have to wait until the lawsuit is resolved, or is part of what's happening in the Congress and in the House in particular, part of what is happening, an attempt to clarify that whole situation with the Cuban Adjustment Act?
Well, I think what is going to happen because of the lawsuit, it is going to trigger efforts in Congress to clarify, and I hope anyway, it will force the Congress to finally face up to this situation.
Yeah.
And put some realistic and effective limits on the number of people that are going to flow into this country from everywhere, including Cuba. And but I'll tell you one thing, we will fight all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to prevent that prediction that you just saw in the paper from coming to pass.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all agreed that the carrying capacity of South Florida in natural resource terms, in economic terms, in social terms, is very nigh reached. And there's in all areas of life, moderation is a virtue, I was always told. And I think we've got to have some moderation when it comes to immigration into South Florida.
Well, there's no question about that. That's the bottom line, and we're trying to, reach a happy medium and find some sanity in the whole policy, not just in regard to us, but in regard to the whole country. And that's what the whole thing has been about right from the beginning. Obviously, people who are members of FAIR, people who are supportive, and it's a long, drawn-out battle anytime you enter into a lawsuit like you are doing with the federal government. You need their continued contributions, you need their continued support, and we also need continued input from the residents here to those folks we put on those lists way back in December and January.
Absolutely, because I'll tell you that what Congress, let me put it differently, what the special interests in Washington hope is that the people of Florida will lose hope. Their belief is that the general public ultimately doesn't care about the future.
Well,
and that's what allows the special interest to prevail on many, many issues in this town.
They're very much out of touch with the sentiments of the people of South Florida if they really believe that.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they're hoping, and so far, we've proven them wrong. At every turn, when they've tried to come in and seize the advantage, seize the upper hand, sneak one through, you've been there, and the citizens of South Florida have been there to say, we've had it, we're not going to take it, we're not going to stand for it, we're going to fight. And thank goodness for that, because this has been the spur that's helped us so often to get Congress off the dime and to get Congress moving, not just for the protection of Florida, but for the protection of the entire country.
Amen. Roger, thanks a million. It's good to talk with you as always. Keep working hard, and we'll work hard on this end and get as much input as we can, and we'll be in touch again real soon.
Good for you.
Thanks a million.
Bye-bye.
Roger Cutter, the Executive Director of FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, with a couple of pieces of good news there. It's 25 minutes after 11 at WINZ, and in just a couple of minutes, after we do a little piece of business, we have our mystery guest. We're going to unveil him, take off the veil. We're going to try to keep on the clothes. And if you'd like to talk to our mystery guest, those who have already identified him, I feel like John, what was his name on What's My Line? John Daly. The number and date is 624-0191. Please sign in. What is he signing on there? Now, don't write that in here. Anyway, the number and date is 624-0191, and in Broward, it's 764-0707. If there are any fans of this startling personality who's in our studio tonight, now's the time to get to those phones if you want to speak to him during the brief half hour or so that we have left. Let me give the numbers one more time. In Dade, it's 624-0191, and in Broward, 764-0707. Right now, it's 11:26 at WINZ, and it'd be kind of interesting if nobody calls you, won't it be, Stan?
Yes.
Twice as much for half the price. That's right, there's twice as much of the magnificent country club lifestyle you've always wanted at Boca Tica, Boca Raton's most successful country club community. Twice the recreation, twice the elegance for half the price you'd pay for anything comparable. And they've got it all: golf, tennis, clubhouse, health club, recreation center with fabulous facilities, 11 pools, even a motel for your guests. And wait till you see the apartments. So spacious and luxurious, you're not going to believe they start at just $95,000. Boca Tica, absolutely the best value under the Florida sun. Get by tomorrow and take a look for yourself. Take I-95 to Yamato Road east toward the ocean in Boca. Go to the third light, turn left into the Boca Tica entrance to the first stop sign for the Model and Information Center. If that's a little confusing, for exact directions or more information in Broward, call 426-3600. That's 426-3600. Or in Dade, call 949-6109. 949-6109. Boca Tica, twice the living at half the price. 28 after 11 at WINZ. You know, when you have a money emergency, it always seems to happen at the worst possible time, Stan, whatever it might be. Big car repair bill, out of a job. And when you do have a situation like that, it always pays to call the pros, the good folks at United Mortgage Company, who'll give you personal understanding service. So if you need a first or second mortgage on any kind of property, whether it's in or out of Florida, call United Mortgage. They'll take the application information right over that telephone so they can get to work for you right away. And don't forget, inquiries from investors are always welcome, too. In Dade, you'll reach United Mortgage by calling 379-2676. That's 379-2676. In Broward, it's 524-7225. That's 524-7225. Or from the Palm Beaches, call 655-9555 for United Mortgage Company, a South Florida institution you can trust. 29 after 11 here at WINZ. Bill Calder comes along at midnight. Stan Major is in the studio with us and has been here fooling around for about the last hour.
Have I?
Well, I don't know. It seems like it, and seems
like about 8 hours
to you. Well, that's because it's a tough
show.
Business.
Really goes slow, Neil.
But at any rate, especially when the phone is empty, we've been sizzling all night, right? We were cooking along, and Stan came in and played mystery guest, and now the phone
killed
is
the program.
As dead as a proverbial doornail. So if there are Stan Major fans out there, Stan, of course, was here on WINZ for what, about 2 years?
I think it was about a year and a half.
Well, that's a pretty long time for you too.
Yeah.
Stan's average job usually about what, 6 weeks?
Yeah.
6 weeks.
Something like that.
And a year and a half at WINZ.
Busting my average.
I thought you were going to say busting something else. And, of course, prior to WINZ, he was at W Snooze down there in South Dade. As a matter, you were there the day we went on the air, weren't you? With me.
Listen, I was in the old WFAB building on
the day of the flood.
Yes.
Even Noah never saw anything like that.
Unbelievable.
And we were all sitting there with our pants rolled up to our knees.
Honest to God, it's the only time I ever had an umbrella for somebody in the building.
It was really unbelievable. And Stan, of course, then, you weren't around very long then, but I don't think that was your doing,
Yeah, I was there a year.
In the beginning?
Yeah, in the beginning I was there a year.
And then you kind of flew away.
I came over here.
Oh, that's right.
I just moved right over here.
You came right over here, and then you came back a second time.
Right.
To W Snooze.
Right, and was not there very long.
No, that second time.
That's when I went to Philadelphia.
Right.
But a lot of seriously, a lot of people during the past 5 years I have heard back from you and from others have had some very kind things to say about me down here.
Not on this show.
Well, my name has come up occasionally. Kind and unkind things. They got the name right. Let's put it that way. And it's nice to be able to say thank you to them because I haven't been able to do that in person.
Boy, what a mellow, what a way to start.
It's nice to be remembered.
Huh?
It really is. It's nice to be remembered.
Well, if the phone is any, barometer.
Nobody calling yet?
You got,
give out the phone number.
Okay, if you want to talk to Stan Major, we've got 28 minutes now left and one break, so it really, when you take it all out, is not that much time. And if you don't call him this half hour, and if he doesn't hear from some of his former fans and some of the people who really despised him,
former girlfriends especially.
Former girlfriends, right. There were many of those.
Absolutely.
And also former folks who just hated his guts, and there were at least a couple of those. The number in Dade is 624-0191. 624-0191, and in Broward, it's 764-0707. Now, it would be really embarrassing. I mean, 5 years is a fairly long time in this business, but it's not a lifetime. And it would be kind of embarrassing if we didn't get all the lines lit up there. And
well, there are a lot of people down here from Philadelphia now.
Sure.
Spending the winter
I have people who mention WWDB very frequently, as a matter of fact. Dolly Banks once in a while calls, and there are some actual people who are from Philly who'll call and talk about you and Bob Grant and Jerry Williams and Dom Quinn and Richard Hayes. See how I remember all of those names?
Grant made a big move lately.
I thought he's not at MCA?
No, he's at WABC.
You're kidding.
From 9 to midnight.
Bob Grant?
And can now be heard in Philadelphia for the first time
since
he left.
Has he gone back to the old Bob Grant, or is he still kind of emasculated?
He is
back to the old thing.
They have loosed the muzzle.
They've taken the shield off.
Absolutely, and as a matter of fact, he was the fellow who was quoted in all the newspaper articles following the Bernard Goetz thing, because it was his show that was the melting pot
Yeah, I would imagine.
For comment.
But let me tell you, I'm sure they were in Philly too, but they were nuts about that here. They think Bernard Goetz is the next thing to Jesus, and maybe even a little bit better.
Koch, I think, is very nervous.
Yeah, well,
because Goetz could run for mayor and whip him.
Oh, I'm sure he could run for anything in New York and win tomorrow. That's very interesting about Bob Grant being at WABC and all kinds of things in showbiz. You get on the inside of the business when you listen to this show. Okay, you've got several callers on here. We have one line still open in Dade, 624-0191. And in Broward, if there are any angry Hispanics out there, the number is 764-0707. Now, you must admit, you did ruffle a few feathers while you were here. I've never offended anybody, but you...
My biggest fans were Merritt Sterheim and...
Dewey Knight.
Knight and Maurice Ferre.
Maurice Ferre. He still speaks very highly of you when he comes on...
the Joseph Goebbels of Miami.
When he comes on my show, he speaks very highly of you. Yes. But, of course, the mayor doesn't come on this show. Oh. Okay, line 1 in Miami. Hello.
Oh, Stan, I'm glad to hear you.
Thank you, sir.
And I mean it. Your one guy had the courage of your convictions. We got a lot of Mortimer Snurds here now, and they haven't got any guts at all. How is my hometown of Philadelphia?
Well, it's still there, sir.
Is that right? But
anyway, they're about to lose the Gulf Oil refinery.
Is that right?
Yep.
Why? What happened?
Well, those things keep happening.
Well, anyway,
let's not get into that stuff.
Talking about the Northeast.
One worry about you being here.
What's that?
Does Manny Diaz know you're here yet?
I've been in Miami since 9:40 and haven't received one death threat.
Brother,
that must be some kind of record.
You, the dynamite is ready. And please take care of yourself. And believe me, I say it with all my heart. You had guts, and a lot of them are nothing here.
What are you trying to say, sir? What are you trying to say? Spit it out. Come on. I can take it.
I'm not talking about you.
Oh, okay.
You're an exception, really are. But you turned yellow, too, a little bit.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. I know.
When you started the weekend on this deal you had, you turned yellow.
Yeah, I just put my tail between my legs and ran ahead. Okay, sir, thank you. I knew that was one of my fans. I recognized the voice. Old Yellowstain, they called him. It's the Canine Mutiny. Lady will be in any second. We have a couple of lines open in Dade, 624-0191. Stan Major is in Miami, which could be of major significance, or on the other hand,
My God, don't tell the Herald.
And we have a couple of open lines in Broward, where, of course, Stan is very big. Okay. Broward number is 764-0707. Line 2 in Miami. Hello.
Yes, hi. I just caught the end of the last hour, and of course you hadn't announced who it was, but I could tell by the dulcet tones.
Yes.
Oh, it was 5 years ago that we heard this man, that it was Stan Major.
Seems like a lifetime, doesn't it?
It does. Stan, what are you back for?
I'm a combination vacation business.
I see. Are you still working in Philadelphia?
I resigned my position up there.
Is there a possibility?
I don't know. I'm going to talk to people.
Now, come on. This fits right in with what you and your gentleman who comes on at 12 wants to do.
Who's that?
Start talking to the management.
Oh, no. We don't talk to the management anymore. No, we've learned better than that. We like to, stay friendly, and the best way is to keep a distance.
I mean, but Stan Major on WINZ would be one. With the three of you, Bill Calder, Stan Major, and Neil Rogers would be one.
Wouldn't that be a trifecta?
Don't really like the billing too much, but that's okay.
What do you want? You want to be first now?
For a long time.
You want to be first?
Absolutely, don't you?
Well, how are we going to do it? By age?
Good heavens.
If we do it by age, Calder gets first billing.
It's good to hear your voice, Stan, and I hope you consider coming back down here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, we'll see how this whole immigration thing goes before anybody makes a decision. Okay, we've got some lines open. Stan Major is here, and of course we want you to regale him with your delight and hysteria over hearing his, as the caller said, dulcet tones.
Right.
Or did he say dull tones? I'm not sure.
Something like
in Dade County, 624.
Are you well?
Yes, ma'am. I'm fine. Still got my hair.
He looks the same. He looks the same as ever.
Well, I just want to end my sentiments to everybody else. I wish it'd come back because we sure need you here.
Well, that's very kind of you.
I mean it. You and Neil and...
Stan had guts, didn't he?
Pardon?
I say Stan had a lot of guts.
I know he did. We sure enjoyed him. We miss him.
Not a lot of common sense, but a lot of guts.
What's going on in that other station is just disgusting. I don't turn them on.
What station is that, ma'am?
Snooze.
Oh, snooze? Rhymes with lose, I guess, but what can I say? We don't want to be bitter, we don't...
No, I know, but I don't want to take up too... I know that quite a few people want to talk to you, And I wish you good health, Stan. And please stay.
Thank you, dear.
All right.
I appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, you're really getting some going here. Line 5 in Hollywood. Hello.
Hi, Stan. Welcome back.
How are you, my dear?
Let me tell you something, Neil. I'm Stan. It was Stan that turned me on to talk radio.
Well, I don't doubt that. Stan has
I
turned a lot of
wanna tell
people
you
on.
something. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, Neil, but you and he both have a very similar voice. Did you know that? Has anybody else commented about it?
Never, no.
I think it's
Me too.
because we're sitting in the same studio.
No. I mean that sincerely.
Oh.
I'm just so elated that you're back, and I hope that you're going to stay.
Well, I'm complimented that you would call, and I'm doubly complimented that you would compare me to Neil Rogers.
Well, you're in very good company. I can assure you of that.
Thank you.
And as far as guts, you're both right in there.
Thank you.
Tops in my book, both of you.
Thank you, and that makes up for that first gentleman with old yellow stain there.
What does he know?
What does he know? He lives on the beach. What does that tell you? Okay.
Okay, right on.
Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Bye-bye. One open line in Dade, 624-0191. We're building to a crescendo here as Major comes back to dazzle and delight and irritate the South Florida audience.
No former girlfriend.
The number in Broward, well, those are the irritated ones mostly. The number in Broward is 764-0707. You would probably say they were the ones who were dazzled, but I've heard different. Line 1, Miami Beach. Hello.
Oh, Neil, I live on the beach, and don't compare me to that first caller.
No, not at all. Well, the beach isn't all bad. It's just pockets
No,
of badness.
There's some very good ones on the beach. Those that are left. Very few of those. Anyway, I want to say welcome back to Stan.
Thank you.
And would you consider going back to snooze? Because I think there's a 3 to 6 spot that should... This guy is disgusting. Absolutely. I don't know how he got the job.
But he does know a lot of restaurants,
He
man.
knows a lot of restaurants, and today, there's nobody to listen to between 3 and 6. So he was talking about nude bathing.
Well, you have to listen to INZ and get all the news between 3 and 6.
I get the news from my end in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because I gave up on the program director, the whole smear. So I think you ought to apply for that job.
Well, ma'am, I really don't know, what's going to happen.
It seems like you've got a groundswell of support building here. Now tomorrow they're going to be marching in the streets. We want Stan.
Yeah, we want Stan.
They'll be standing over there at Tom Thumb.
Yeah, call Al Rantel and tell him to have lunch with me at least.
I don't want to speak to that jerk.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's got a lot of freebies you could enjoy down there. That's the least they can do is buy you a lunch or something.
Oh, well, you better get in touch with Steve because he has all freebies.
Okay, thanks for the call, dear.
Right.
Bye-bye. Well, they get hostile at the drop of a bucket here. I'm telling you, all you have to do is start mentioning talk radio, and they go nuts. 19 till midnight at WINZ. Another veteran of the talk wars, Bill Calder, is in the building right now. And Bill's going to regale you for 5 hours starting at midnight, and I'm going to tell you something. He's got stories from Gulfstream today that are just going to knock your socks off. Under a contract with the United States government, IMC's Gold Plus plan is working to provide Medicare beneficiaries for individuals with Parts A and B of Medicare the finest health care available, with lots of free benefits and no monthly premium. And now the Gold Plus plan has become one of the fastest-growing HMO Medicare plans in the whole country. Over 140,000 Floridians enrolled in over 90 medical centers all over Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, so you know there's one close to you. And don't forget, the Gold Plus plan has recently opened their enrollment office at Cedars Medical Center. That's at 1321 Northwest 14th Street, Miami. You can enroll there any weekday, Monday through Friday, between the hours of 9 and 6, or during those same daytime hours. Just give them a call at their toll-free number. Call 1-800-462-2273. That's 1-800-462-2273. 17 till midnight at WINZ. Let's talk about great food again. We were just talking about good restaurants a moment ago. If you love mouth-watering seafood prepared to perfection, then I highly recommend you give it a try at the Italian Fish House. A tremendous menu, every kind of seafood under the sun and then some, and it's all prepared fresh. Only the highest quality ingredients used in the preparation, and all of the seafood is fried in pure peanut oil, too. And if you're one of those early bird lovers here in South Florida, they got an early bird for you every afternoon from 4 till 6:30. The early bird dinners start at just $4.95. They give you loads of food and the whole meal from $4.95 to a top of $7.95, depending upon the choice of entree. Choose from broiled mackerel, breast of chicken cacciatore, broiled Boston scrod, broiled sea trout, veal cutlet parmesan, spaghetti or linguine with meatballs, and lots more. And again, those entire meals starting for just $4.95. You'll love their raw bar. They have stone crabs, fresh clams and oysters, and lots more. It's a super place. Give it a try soon. The Italian Fish House at 177th and Collins Avenue on Motel Row. It's 16 till midnight. The infamous Stan Major is in town. He just kind of dropped in like out of nowhere tonight, and we opened the door, and there he was.
Had to open the gate first.
We opened the gate, we opened the door, and all of a sudden he came back and saw the palatial part of our new studios back here. This is, you must admit, first cabin compared to the...
It really is. I'm very impressed.
Compared to those days when you were here.
Well, it wasn't bad. I mean, even what we had was better than what they had across the city.
Right.
But this is phenomenal here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why Maurice Ferre wouldn't come out just to see what the place looks like.
Well, if I would leave the building, he might sneak in.
I see.
Let's try line 6 in Fort Lauderdale. Hello.
Okay, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but the yellow stains and heartburn cane have been seen lunching at Morrison's. Rumor has it through the Boston circuits that Stan is coming back to hit the 3 to 6 circuit. And these rumors are really sound and solid, and I just feel as if we should give out all the news that's fit the print. I'm really happy to hear it, and the people should know that we need a 3 to 6 brain on the radio, and we've got to get that other kid off. We'd welcome you back, and I can't wait for you to start, and looking forward to the announcement of when the day is.
Gee, you know a hell of a lot more than I do, sir.
Well, I want to tell you something. That Jerry Williams can't keep a secret.
Jerry Williams can't keep a secret?
Right. Mentioned it on his program the other day that one of the leading boys from Philadelphia was on his way down here.
Well, sure. I was coming down for a vacation.
Well, no, he meant a little bit more than that. Let's let it out. Let everybody know. Let's have a good time. Let the flags begin to unfurl, and boy, we'll get Stevie on his hiney.
You haven't had your flags at full staff since I left, right, sir?
Full staff.
But what is on those flags? That's the question.
What's happened to the harness thing for tonight?
The results?
Yeah. Have an 11th and 12th trifecta trying to figure out the results.
Have we got him in the other room? Well, I'll tell you what. I'll try to make Calder play him. We preempted him because I gave Stan such a short shrift
I'd rather
here.
hear Stan anyway.
Okay, well, that's a good deal.
He didn't win any money anyway.
Take good care now.
Thanks a lot.
He didn't win any money, I can tell.
How do you know that? I had a good day out at Gulfstream today. I had 5 winners. We went there for the last 8 races. I had 5 winners in 8 races, including a $25 horse and a $40 horse.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
I'm not going to go to the track with you Saturday. Because if you had a good day like that a couple of days ago...
I'm on a roll.
No way.
I'm on a roll. We go in streaks. Calder's been on a losing streak for, well, I don't know. I know he was 0 for 40 at one point.
That's me in Trivial Pursuit.
And he cashed
I held the record
today
as the all-time
loser
in Trivial Pursuit.
Okay, well, we're not going to give you the prize at the end of the show. That is for sure. Line 2 in Kendall. Hello.
Oh, hello. Is this the famous Neil Rogers?
This is the infamous Neil Rogers and the outrageous Stan Major.
I just wanted to say that tonight you don't sound like you're coming from Havana, Cuba on my radio, so I decided to call.
You mean something good has happened tonight?
Yeah, maybe it's because of Stan.
I think Stan has brought us some good luck from Philadelphia.
Anyhow, I wanted to put my vote in for Stan.
That's very kind of
you. For
you,
what? What is he running?
3 to 6. I thought he was going to do that.
Boy, you folks sure are way ahead of me.
Well, you don't understand. You see, this is kind of a subliminal attack against a particular individual in town who seems to arouse considerably more ire than even in your wildest days you ever dreamed of doing.
I thought he was.
In other words, they hate him, is what I'm trying to say to you. You know, what am I using all of this language here? They despise the guy.
Is this the guy I saw on the Donahue show?
That's the guy. Was he plugging his restaurants on that show?
No. He was having a tough time getting on the air. No, I don't really know anything about him or anything about what's been going on in Miami for about 5 years, sir, other than what Neil tells me.
Yeah, anyhow, I started listening to you. That's when I first started listening to talk radio. And I found you, pretty good.
Well, we had a lot of fun in those days.
Yeah, it was a little different then.
Yeah, well, that was a whole other area. That was like another lifetime.
Well, he got into some pretty serious topics, but he's pretty good. Anyhow, I just thought I'd call because, like I said, like tonight, you're finally coming in.
Well, if you can hear us in Kindle, I'm sure my former wife will call and ask me when's the check in the mail.
No, usually it sounds like Havana, but tonight it's a little different.
Well, we got Fidel on his best behavior tonight. We sent a few of those criminals back, and he's going to mind his P's and
that's
Q's.
possible. Maybe you got something there.
Don't hold your breath. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks a lot. Line 3 in South Dade. Hello.
Hello, Stan Major.
How are you, ma'am?
I miss you. I'm glad you're back. And you're the one that taught me about Naranja. I never knew there was a Naranja till you said it.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Naranja.
Naranja.
Down by Homestead.
You had a lady call from Naranja one day.
Really?
And you snored very nicely through the phone while she was talking. I became your fan that day.
Well, anybody from Naranja is all right with me.
Well, anyway, I just called to say welcome back, and I hope you stay.
Thank you, my dear.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. By the way, if Dolly's listening on the beach, we'd love to hear from her tonight. Snoring while somebody's on the air. Can you believe that anybody would do something as tacky and grotesque as that?
That's really terrible, isn't it?
Let's go to line 4 in Kendall. Hello.
Hello. I just turned in my dial, and there you are. I'm so glad to hear you back, Stan.
Thank you.
I always was a fan when you were around here, and well, you certainly are a welcome change. I like all of the WINZ people, and I think that rude, crude snurd who's taking the place of a talk host on W News program right now ought to be put off the air.
We didn't ask for this, This just happened spontaneously. This
Very
is like
interesting.
Spontaneous combustion.
Good news to me, and I'll be listening to where you're going to be.
Thank you, dear.
Good luck
Thank you.
And welcome back.
Okay, well, I understand he's staying at the Ramada.
Thanks a lot.
You're not staying at the Ramada.
The Val Harbor?
Sure you are.
Let's throw in a couple more so I get phone calls every place.
He's staying at the Motel 6, which
Right.
is about as much, after you work in Philadelphia for 5 years. But we'll talk about that later. Line 5 in Pembroke Lakes.
Tried to get in downtown in one of the snazzy new ones, and they wouldn't let me in.
No, they won't let you in downtown. There are too many people who speak Spanish down there. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Can I ask your guest what the status of talk radio is up in Philly now?
Well, we covered that briefly, but he'll go into it again.
Sorry, I just got on about 10 minutes ago.
Except for the station that I just left, WWDB, which is all talk on FM.
I used to listen to you up there.
Yeah, there really isn't anything that exciting happening on AM.
I see. What's Leonard Toes doing these days?
Leonard Toes is going to have to unload the Eagles. I don't care what you hear. He will have to sell. Or the bank is going to take the team.
Yeah. Leonard said, "Don't bet on it, though."
Is it true it's a good idea to go out to lunch with Mayor Good?
No, I don't. I wouldn't. He doesn't have time for lunch. He's a very busy man. He's a very busy man. Actually, surprisingly, he's a very effective mayor. But compared to what we had in Mayor Green before Mayor Good went in, anything would have been Mickey Mouse would have been. An effective mayor.
So you like Miami better than Philadelphia? Is that what?
No, I don't like either one of them better than either one of them.
He doesn't like either one. He doesn't like any place.
Don't put me in that kind of position. They're both very nice places. The thing about Miami is it's so marvelous to be able to go to a supermarket and buy a bottle of wine. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
And
so
you
have
go
to really
that supermarket at 3 a.m.
Stan gets into a lot of these esoteric conversations that are very, very difficult to follow, and that's the one thing. When you listen to Stan's show, it keeps you alert because you have to have a road map. And, you start out in Naranja and you wind up in Otis.
Well, you have to live in a place like Philadelphia, Neil, for a while to realize how good you've got it in an area where you can walk into a drugstore at 3 a.m. if you've got a toothache.
What does that mean? What do you do in Philadelphia?
There's not one single 24-hour drugstore in all of the fourth largest market in this country.
Is that still part of the blue law syndrome? Is that kind of
it's just that everybody decides that they will close at 9 o'clock at night, and so they close. There's one supermarket chain, and they only have, maybe in the entire area of Philadelphia and South Jersey, they have maybe 5 stores, and they're open 24 hours. That's it.
See, when you were up there, you kept trying to get me to go to work up there, and you used to tell me how great it was. Now that he's left there and he's here, he's telling me how lousy it is up there.
No, I'm just telling you the difference because you haven't been there, so you're not aware of these finite little things that bug the hell out of me. The state liquor thing is the thing I campaigned against up there. almost every day on the air. It's the most asinine rip-off of the consumers that you can imagine. Imagine if you want to buy a six-pack of beer, you cannot get it any place except at a beer and soda store. And those are few and far between. In other words, you can go into a grocery store and buy a six-pack of Bud, and you can do that in almost any state in this country, but in Pennsylvania you can't do that.
Oh, really? Okay, line 6.
We do have a lottery.
I've always wanted to do that to you. Line 6 in Hallandale. Hello.
Hello, Neil.
Hi.
Hi, Stan.
How are you?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I just would like, I don't know why all these people are sending you to the other station. I'd like you to be on INZ with more talk shows.
Well, I think they're very successful with what they do, ma'am.
I'm sure they are, but it's just that I don't listen to the other station anymore. And riding in the car, I'm busy turning dials. But I'll catch you somewhere.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to tell you something.
Okay.
You keep me up till 5 o'clock in the morning when you stay on, what do you call it, and I'm not asleep,
When I stay on
so
with,
it doesn't make any difference.
When I stay on with, what do you call it?
I mean, I go to bed at 5 and I'm up at 7:30.
Well, don't count on too many more of those. You know, those 5 a.m. jobs, not too many. Have a good night.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Put some of them on tape. Line 1 in North Miami. Hello.
Oh, Stan.
Yes, sir.
You sound a little more relaxed than you did back in the early parts of the Mariel boatlift days.
I am quite relaxed, sir. As I said, I've been here since 9:40 and haven't had one death threat, and it's really a change.
Wait a minute. We have a message coming.
Well, I'd like to say I hope you stay with us down here, and it's good to hear your voice again.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that great? Doesn't that show you what an erudite and a well-informed audience I have on this show? What are you laughing about?
Really
it's true. They've all been very nice to you. They remember who you are.
Yeah, they've been very kind.
But, you know, the other night I did a show on nostalgia, and I think the same point holds true. My point was that when you think back to the good old days, you forget the bad things and you retain the good.
Yeah.
So they remember all the things they liked about you, right?
Right. Well, we tend to do that about everything in our own life.
It is true. You screen out all the negative stuff.
Yeah.
And you remember the good old days.
Right.
Just like you're forgetting about, well, evidently you're not because you keep mentioning it, those long yellow legal pads with all the death threats.
Yeah.
And that was kind of an interesting period of time, wasn't it?
Sheriff's police out in front all the time.
But it wasn't quite like Nashville, though. I think really you ought to give that a try. Before you make any rash decision, I think you ought to go up. I understand they're doing all paid religion at night up there. They're wasting that big 50,000-watt signal at WLAC. I think you'd be gangbusters. You'd be dynamite, if you pardon the expression, in Nashville.
Well, if I could just pick a guitar, I'd go over real big.
You think so?
I think so.
We used to have.
They understand that.
We used to have a couple, and she used to sing, and he used to play the guitar. They were, I don't remember what their names were. Maybe Calder will remember their names, but they used to follow me at midnight up there, and they were a real trip, let me tell you. That whole 4 weeks was exciting, and it just seems to keep popping back all the time, over and over again. It just won't go away. But anyway, Stan Major is here in town, and he'll be around for a few days, and you never know where you might hear him. He might pop up on any show, right?
Could be even on INZ-FM. Who knows?
On I-95? Keith is pondering that situation up there. He's saying, well, you never know. Let me tell you, he'd be dynamite on I-95. He would, he'd knock their socks off. He'd put Prince to shame. Let me tell you that right now. You think Prince's house looks like something, you ought to see some of his clothes. Anyway, Stan Major, it's great to see you again. And
can you tell me where they're filming Miami Vice? That's really the only reason I came
right
down
on here, as a matter of fact. Right afterward, we've got 6 Cubans and Al Pacino out there, and they're going to be welcoming you in just a second or two. We have a special ceremony, and they have a little award they'd like to give you that they wanted to give you before you left town. Anyway, it's great to have Stan back with us, and tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, my guest will be Gordon Stein, and we'll be talking about atheism and agnosticism and rationalism and irrationalism and all kinds of other exciting things. Right now,
I won't be here for that one.
Speaking of irrational, Bill Calder is in the building, and Bill, as I said before, has just stories to tell you that are going to turn you on your ear, even wilder than usual, so stick around for that. And we'll see you again tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Linda Rockefeller's standing by. She also has some stories that will dazzle you. And then we'll get the latest from CBS at midnight. It's 11:59 at WINZ.